It's another math day here with teacher Jenny. Join me for another discussion, and this time we're talking about types of non-random sampling techniques. Non-random sampling technique, this is used when the sample is not a proportion of the population and when there is no system in selecting a sample. This is also known as bias sampling and also known as non-probability sampling because you do not depend your choosing of your sample on the chances itself, but there will be an intervention made by the researcher or the one that is in charge of the study, and that will be based on the judgment of the researcher. So that is why it's called bias sampling and non-probability sampling. This is often used by researchers to elicit and gather quick responses for questions which do not require confidentiality. That is why it is less accurate. Okay, this is the first type of non-random sampling. We call that one as accidental sampling. Only those whom the researcher meets by chance are included in the sample when using this technique. So more likely, who are those on the spot when that incident happened? Those are your sample. That becomes your immediate sample. Now, let's say, for example, you're out on the street and there are a crowd or there is a crowd. Of course, out of curiosity, you wanted to know what happened. So, more likely you're doing or conducting a research. Now, those that are within your reach or those that you can immediately ask or elicit your information, those are your sample. So, that is accidental sampling. This is less expensive, time-saving, and generally used by journalists to know public views on a particular issue. So more likely, those reporters out there on the field, those are normally the one who uses accidental sampling because they are getting the respondents or their sample on the spot. So whoever are within their reach, those are their sample. Okay? Now, this is useful where too much accuracy is not required. And again, you might just pick on anybody, even though that somebody or anybody doesn't know what happened in there. So that means it's gonna be with less accuracy. So this is accidental sampling. Now, the next one is quota sampling. For quota sampling, this is more likely similar to stratified sampling. So more likely this is confused over stratified sampling. Why? Because in quota sampling, you will be also grouping your population, and in stratified, you're also grouping. Now, more likely under quota sampling, this can be grouped according to similar characteristics. So that is the same with stratified. So how are they gonna be spotted? Now, when you say stratified, you are choosing your respondents or selecting your samples from each of the group. Similarly, when you say quota sampling, you are choosing this sample or the member of the sample from each of the group. But what makes it different is how you choose your sample. When you say stratified, this is under random sampling. So you are going to base your choosing on random or chances. So meaning you're going to be using the simple random sampling technique or the lottery method or the lottery sampling technique, or you can have it under systematic sampling. That's the way of choosing your sample in there. Now for quota sampling, since this is under non-random sampling, you are going to choose as a researcher based on your judgment and based on the purpose of your study. So that is how you choose your sample here. And again, you will be setting a goal since that is quota sampling. Quota meaning to say you are setting a goal. So there is a goal. Now it's you as a researcher who will be setting the goal. Let's say, for example, I have here a class and I wanted to group them. My class is the population and I wanted to group them according to its gender. So there will be female and male. Now, let me say my study is about a beauty cream. So more likely more women will be, or more female will be using that product. So I will be setting a goal. Let's say I'll be getting on a female 70% and on male 30%. So you are the one who set the goal. You may have it on female as 80% and male as 20%. So it's you as a researcher who has the say on it. So that is quota sampling. And again, the choosing of the sample will be based on your judgment. So you can just say, this one is indeed using, more likely wanted to use the cream. So I'll be choosing her. So that's how you choose your quota sampling. So that will be the differences between quota sampling and stratified sampling. Stratified sampling, you are computing for the number of samples from each of the group, and then you will be choosing that one by lottery within the group. So that's stratified. So I hope that's clear between stratified and quota sampling. So we have that one. This includes a specified number of persons of certain types to be taken as sample. So again, that's the goal set by the researcher of how many are to be taken from each of the group. Individuals will be selected using purposive sampling. So based on your study, what will be the purpose of your study, you will be choosing that as part of your sample. Now let's go to convenience sampling. Convenient sampling here, this is the most convenient and fastest sampling technique that make use of the telephone, the mobile phones, or the internet. So more likely, you are, as a researcher, most convenient and most comfortable with in gathering the data. So more likely, since we are into computer or internet nowadays, we are most likely generating our information from the social media. So the social media is the best tool for the convenience sampling. So if you happen to see polling, internet polling, more likely if you have Facebook, then some of you might encounter polling. Now that is an example of convenience sampling. So you are generating information on the people from the social media through internet polling. So you will be answering based on your opinion. You will be voting out and clicking in those category that you wanted to select on. So that's internet polling and that's convenience sampling. Now, also, if you happen to encounter phone calls from internet providers about their services, that is also under convenience sampling. So that's one way of doing the convenience sampling. Now, on mobile phones, more likely some surveys nowadays are sent through mobile phones. There are more likely different applications, websites that are now generating surveys based on the mobile apps. So that is also under convenience sampling. So this is also known as haphazard sampling because you will be working out in a convenient of, or the researcher will be more convenient on this aspect. So it's haphazard. Now, example is the ambush interview, in which this is more likely similar to accidental sampling. Ambush interview is you will be interviewing those that are on the spot or wherever you are right now. So again, you are staying on your comfort zone because you do not go anywhere, you do not travel, you do not look for your respondent. So that is convenience sampling. Another one, as I mentioned, is internet polling, in which you will be generating information over the internet using the social media. Next one is purposive sampling. Purposive sampling, from the word itself, purpose, meaning purpose, meaning you are going to base your technique or sampling technique on the purpose of your study. So this is used in very small sample size. Also called judgmental because you will be basing your choosing of the sample based on your judgment. And this is also known as selective sampling. An example is if the subjects of the study are deans of certain universities or area managers of certain institutions, so who will be your sample? That will be the deans, and so with the managers, because that sample fits your study. Okay? Next is snowball sampling. Snowball, from the word itself, snowball. We are making snowball. If you happen to see some movies in which the setting is a snowy place, then of course some of the characters might be making snowballs in which they will be throwing it for fun. Now, snowball sampling is similar to that one, to that concept in which you will be throwing a ball to somebody. That ball is you throwing or letting the researcher know of the next prospect as a sample. Now, this is also known as chain referral. The researcher will choose a possible respondent for the study at hand, and each respondent is asked to give recommendations or referrals to the other possible respondents. So see, if you have the referrals, you are throwing something or you are passing information of that person to your researcher. So that is a referral. So you might say this one is a possible respondent of your study. So you can just have, or you can ask him or her as part of the sample. So that is snowball sampling. Now, snowball sampling is also known as, or this might be pictured out as networking. So if you Okay, this is now the illustration, snowball sampling. Now, the first person here is your possible respondent, and then that person will be referring you to the next person in which that might be part of your sample, and that next person will be referring you to the next person. So that is more likely the concept of networking here. Now, this is more likely used when your respondents are hard to find or difficult to find. So, for example, your study is about the experiences of the COVID patient. COVID patients are really hard to find because of the confidentiality in there. So, you might be spotting one person, and that person will be referring you to the next one whom he or she is aware that has COVID. So that is snowball sampling. Volunteer sampling, this is another type of non-random sampling. Volunteer sampling, this is more likely when you are doing a research and you wanted to have it volunteer because you do not expect that every people there might become part of your sample. Let's say for example, you are doing a survey on whether the beauty cream really is effective or not. So of course, not everybody would want to participate on that study because they might be afraid something might happen to them. So you will be needing a volunteer, and that is volunteer sampling. So it has sample units, which are those who volunteer to participate in the study, utilized in qualitative studies. So it's not more likely preferred under quantitative. Those are your different types of non-random sampling. And again, this is your teacher Jenny saying good luck and hope you like, share, and comment your suggestion and so with the topics that you wanted me to talk about for my next video. And please stay tuned for the next video. Please do not forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will be updated on my latest video. Thank you and happy Easter!